Usually, when I talk about dipsticks, it's the ones in Washington, D.C., and then there's the other dipsticks, like these. I had to put a spark plug boot, and I know I'm not the best cameraman. I'm probably showing you a black hole. But I had a large puddle of oil. I took this for an oil leak, and I got to the bottom of a mystery because this has happened to me more than once. And actually, it was modern Chevy, and I believe it's Chevrolet. Now, you're going to have to sit on there. I got a rag on my camera. We're getting a cross breeze here, which carries trash into my yard. Which, you know, I watch YouTube to learn about new products, but now all I got to do is clean up the trash in my backyard. I don't know why somebody's trying to make the bears around here horny. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. But, you know, if I want to learn about new products, now I got to go out back and just pick up the trash all over here. You know, I cleaned 4 bags of trash, and I'm still not done. I still got trash over there behind them trucks. Unbelievable. Let's get back to dipsticks. Okay. The dipsticks at AutoZone and Advanced. Now, these parts places, they're all on the same system. So when there's an erroneous part in the system, you're going to consistently get that. Okay? And especially when the guy says, like, they know me, I'll look it up and I'll have it set in here for you. When I run over for it and it's the same fucking part. And I was, you know, I even told the guy, see that number? That's not the dipstick. For a 5.3, a 6.0, a 4.8, okay, they take a different dipstick tube, which is this one. Part number's right on it, right there. So, that was basically my oil leak. But I did have the main bearing seal replaced in the back, and I left the other dipstick tube. It was sitting here. It was broke off, and the guy used that, what is it, that Fix All or whatever it is, the Right Stuff Fix, or he used that and just glued it in. And I went to the Walmart. I come out and I could smell oil. Remember what I told folks when you watch my channel, or if you want to go on a rescue, when you want to know whether the motor's good, and I don't give a shit if the car's been sitting 50 years, and he tells you it's a brand new motor, my sniffer's going to tell you. That's an acuity I don't think a lot of people have. Okay, so the dipsticks at Advanced Auto Parts and all that, and the dipstick that worked on my truck and told me it was the main bearing seal and glued that other dipstick back in. That's why the dipstick didn't work right, and that's why over time it broke, because I have that in there. I made my own mount and everything. You know, till I find something out, it takes me sometimes days and weeks. And I go on the OEM part networks, and not all the time, if the part's there, you can see the part, you can get a part number. But these places here are too lazy to cross-reference that part number. So that means I can't get the part today, and sometimes that part's not available on the website. That's what we're going through right now. And I'm sorry my camera's on a kooky angle. I have a rag. Like I said, we had this really crazy cross breeze going today when it picks up. We've had wind ever since February. I mean, every day we've had at least 30 mile to 25 mile an hour crosswinds. Now let me tell you about the miss that you're getting in your Chevys, particularly these VORTEKs. Everybody, and a lot of other cars. I was at AutoZone the last couple of days. I'm watching the guys, they're going from freaking car to car with their scanner, plugging it in. Everybody's getting misfire codes. What's that about? Well, I'll tell you one part that can give you misfires, and it's the least thought of part, is that fuel pressure regulator on the side of the fuel rails. That's my miss in this truck. And I waited, and the dipstick screwed that up. Oh, it was a special order part. I had to come over and pay for it. Why didn't you tell me that when I was at the counter? Oh, we tried to call you back. Yeah, that's when you call someplace, leave a message, and we'll be sure to call you back when you're not there. Jerk-offs never ordered it. So I called another Advanced. They know me, and they'll work with me. They ordered. I actually ordered 2 of them because of this. I'm actually paying double now to fix my vehicles because I cannot depend on these parts places. And that's all of them. Napa, AutoZone. We don't have an O'Reilly's here. We don't have any independents anymore. They're all gone. Corporate America squashed them like bugs. Now, let's get into plug wires, your other mess. Before I get to my go-to favorite, these are Chi-Com. These look really neat. Now, these were ordered by a customer and left here. I talked them out of them. If they work, you're not going to have them on your vehicle more than 2 or 3 years. There is a ferrite material, which is basically a copper iron, and tungsten is what makes up a wire. The Chi-Coms have designed basically a ferrite copper core that deteriorates. It's a graphite. There's a graphene material in it. I don't want to get technical. I don't like when guys go into that. You can look it up on the internet if the information's there. I already know because I have metallurgy and I've already cut these wires apart and I've looked at the core in them and they're nothing like. Okay, this is one go-to that I haven't had too many problems with for the Silverados are these. Now, these also have a very light core to them, which means they're not going to last that long and they're not going to take a high energy in ignition like these that long. That's the problem. These will work all the time right away. Most of the time you won't have a problem with these right away. But you just give it 2-3 years and you don't have to use the vehicle all that hard, especially if your vehicle sits out and the moisture, you open your hood and it drips and it gets on those back coil packs and stuff. That's why people always get that miss between 5, 7, and 8 cylinders. For some reason, 5, 7, and 8 cylinders, that water gets to those plug wires up in the coils and they short the wire or the wire deteriorates. So my go-to, my all-time go-to, these aren't a fancy red wire. These are not a fancy dancy red wire. Let's see if I can hit my bucket. I don't throw cigarettes all over my yard even though I smoke. Now, this is if you have square coils. There's 2 different numbers. I think the other one's 6906 on the 6 or 3609. But anyway, these are for the square coil, 8-cylinder square coil. That's your Belden part number. This is a Belden wire. Napa Belden. Napa, at times I avoided Napa because they were a little overpriced on parts, especially if you're getting Eklund, which is basically, Belden is part of Eklund. Standard ignition, they were always $20, $30 higher, even back in the day when when there were other stores around, like Snyder's. I was talking about Circle S, and there were different independent stores. I could get it $20, $30 cheaper. So I kind of avoided Napa. And you could also get Belden and Prestolite wires. When we ran stock cars back in the 70s and the 80s, like I said, my grandfather raced, and when we built cars, even like my go-kart, he looked for a Prestolite wire. Why? Because they were a tungsten magnesium core back then. They were a true spark plug wire. But the only thing is, the jacketing on those wires didn't last. They really didn't come out with a true silicone wire until the late 1970s, when everybody was running headers, and especially on speedboats and stuff. Really, that's where our speed shop evolved. We brought in a lot of marine parts for our engines, especially the race engines. You know, you're doing a 30-lap feature. Say you're running Friday night, Saturday night, and maybe you want to run the Sunday. A lot of times our tracks had an A main and a B main, even on a Sunday. For certain, you know, my dad ran this, he basically ran the late model, and then my grandfather, he ran the modified. And believe me, he was a great on the track. He was Ralph Earnhardt of the Northeast up here. And like I said, it was the time that he took me up there to New York, up to Syracuse, up to the Speedway. And the guy that was, you know, fooling around with me, and he's pulling my shirt, and I had longer hair, that was Richie Evans. My grandfather knew Richie Evans, and Richie Evans really didn't become a god of mine until after he was passed, the late Richie Evans. Richie Evans was a great man. He was never ill-spirited. even rough riding. I mean, I've seen them get hot a few times. Everybody, just like me. I got my limits. Just like this trash blowing in my yard. And by the way, I had a guy. He edged me on in the Philippines when I was in the Marines. Well, I was on a Navy ship, but I was a Marine. And he was moving me down the bar and trying to spill my drink a couple times and hit me upside the head with all his slippers. And then it was like, I never realized that they had 1/4-inch drywall and 1x1s for, that's what their buildings were made out of, because it looked like 2 bulldozers or 3 ran through that restaurant when we got done with those guys. But it was like, come here, karate this. And that was State Cop was coming close, and even though I liked the guy. Because I've been banned from a bowling alley, that bar, and maybe another bar room. I've been banned from too many places. But I got banned from a Dollar General store. Okay. So I'm going to end my video of that, and then I'm going to make a separate video. I'm going to try to cut some of my wires apart. I do save my wires, like most of these guys that do rescues and we do these older vehicles. It's nice to have a test wire when you have a miss. I told you there's several different ways to decide whether you've got a valve or you've got a cylinder knocked out. A lot of guys have covered that. Mortsky's covered it. Cold War Motors has covered it. Vice Grip Garage, he dances around the issue a little bit because he has a lot of fun with what he does. Mortsky, more or less, he goes about it like an old timer. It's fuel and spark. If you've got fuel and if you've got spark and then you've got a miss, it's either your plugs, your wires, okay? On the older stuff, you got 1 coil or 1 set of points in 1 coil. So you can automatically eliminate that it's that. Now, you do have things like bad distributors and so forth like that. That's something that I don't go on rescues and I don't try to fire up a 50 or 40-year-old motor. I'd rather bring it back here on a wrecker, a trailer, whatever way it gets here. That's the way I'd rather get into the engine, open it up, see what's in there, okay? Because it's easy to bend a valve, have a backfire when there's, you know, shorted out electrical components, okay? And it's easy to wreck something that's basically still intact. And most of the time I'll rip the heads off anyway. I'm not going to run a 50, 40-year-old motor, okay? And that's mainly when I look for something to rescue and bring here. It's going to have an engine that I know has been replaced. And remember what I told you about my sniffer? A couple guys told me it was a rebuilt engine, and I could smell it's not a rebuilt engine. I'm sorry to, you know, like I said, a lot of people don't understand the odors of an older engine. You know, kind of like old people smell funny, so do old cars. Keep watching my videos. Fuel pressure regulator. This E85 gas is turning everybody's check engine light on, including both my Silverados. I went down, I got non-ethanol fuel. I didn't have the $50 to spend, and I usually $50 I get about 3/4 of a tank. I got little bit just above the half a tank mark with $50, and she wasn't all that empty either. But that did get the check engine light out. I pulled out of the gas station. I might have got maybe a mile or 2 up the road, and the check engine light went right out. But I was watching them, like I said, I was going to Advanced Auto. It was this weekend, and as a matter of fact, it was 2 weeks ago when it happened to me. The Super Sport light's still on, and they're going to flunk your car up here for emissions if it's like mine's due for inspection. Not going to pass. I'm going to have to drive at a safety inspection, go get non-ethanol gas, and then go take it and get it inspected. Now they're thinking about doing away with emissions up here, and I hope they do. These cars, they think for you. You don't need emissions. And half the people, they ignore it anyway. They got somebody that's going to lick the sticker or paste it on there with, you know, cellophane tape or some shit. Thanks for watching my videos, and just remember, I am the only guy on YouTube that got banned from a Dollar General store. And remember not to feed the bears horny pills. Thanks for watching my videos, guys.